it's Lisa. I wanted to share with you my second watercolor sketchbook. This is an Etchr Lab cold press watercolor sketchbook. It's the portrait orientation, and this is the medium sized one. They have a smaller and a larger version, and I'll put in the description which specific one that I'm using. The first sketchbook I did, it only took me 4 months to do. I did a lot of painting. This last few months I've been doing a lot of sewing, and when I painted I've done a lot of cards and things, so this one took me 8 months to finish, but it's still, I really enjoyed doing it, and I'm finding a lot of value in sketchbooks as a thing to just kind of gauge my progress and to refer to when I'm doing cards and other projects. I do a lot of things from Emma LaFave's videos, and I'll have a link to her YouTube channel. I'm also a patron of hers, and you can find all of her stuff from her YouTube and other social media. So I'll mention her by name as I go through some of these. If I've done other people's videos or used a photograph or something, that'll be on the screen. So I'll try to give credit where I can. This first a painting in the sketchbook is from one of my photographs. I took this picture of begonias from my front porch last year and painted them. And when I do this kind of detail work, I use my watercolor pencils a lot, the Faber-Castell watercolor pencils. And I keep those over here handy to get a lot of the detail work. I had 2 different kinds of begonias. That's why there's 2 different kinds of leaves in here. But that was one to kind of kick off the sketchbook. One of Emma's videos is the sunflower. This was from one of her YouTube lives. I am no longer doing that level of her patron, but you'll see some of those in here. And the nice thing about Patreon is if you join later, you can go back and see the earlier stuff for whatever level you're at. So at some point, I did live for several months, and at some point I'll probably go back and do that again, and when I get more caught up on all the videos that I haven't painted that I still want to paint. These were also photographs that I took in our garden. We grow zinnias. Every year they come back. They were flowers from our wedding. When we got married, we gave these little seed packets as favors, and we planted ours, and every year they come back, and they attract a lot of butterflies. And one of the things I learned when I was painting these butterflies, I did use my watercolor pencils for some of this detail, but I tried to paint the black and then paint in the other colors, kind of leave spaces and paint in. I learned the better way to do that. When I did the second butterfly, I did the color, the blue and the yellow, and then I went over with the black on top, and that worked, of course, much better. These were featured in one of Emma's videos. She asked people to send in work that they had done, and I was really honored that she chose my watercolor pages for her video. But these are 2 of that I'm especially pleased with. I use the sketchbook as a way to practice things that I'm going to do on cards, and these were from an earlier video that I'd done before with some watercolor crayons, and I just wanted to experiment and see what I was going to use for my fall cards. I didn't end up using those, but I did use this apple and another one you're going to see a little bit later on. The apple and a pumpkin that's going to show up in a few minutes is from Danny Drawing, Danny D-R-W-I-N-G on Instagram and YouTube. And what he does is he paints a layer underneath of a contrasting color or complementary color. So like there was blue that you put down first, and then you went over it with the red. And what that did is it created the shadows. And I love that technique of underpainting. It's really fun to do, and it's great for fruit. This was from Pinterest, and I didn't do a great job with these birds, but it was just something I was kind of practicing for future cards. This is from one of Emma's videos, and it didn't come out great in my sketchbook, but I liked painting it so much I did a larger version of this, and it's now hanging in our wall, on our wall in our living room. So sketchbook is a good place to practice things. Another sunflower, a much looser one from a different YouTube video, just to play with some pen and ink. In Emma's videos this last year, she has had a series for Patreon subscribers where we did the alphabet and flowers. A is for amaryllis, B is for bluebell, etc., etc. And so I did some of the others in the other sketchbook. I'm up to L for lupine and M for marigold. I really wanted to paint clouds. I still really want to paint clouds, or I want to paint good clouds. These were from some different videos, and this one was probably the most successful, although still not that great. Clouds are hard, I discovered, and so my cloud study still needed quite a bit of work, but it was, a place to practice. Here's the pumpkin I was talking about, and I did a lot of apples and pumpkins for my fall cards. One of Emma's videos that I would like to paint again, and maybe with a photograph of a barn around here. I live in a rural area and there are lots of beautiful barns, and so I really enjoyed painting this, and I'd like to do a more detailed version of a barn. I got some of the shadows pretty good, but the roof has a weird line to it, so you learn as you go. This was also one of hers, was the pear, and this did not include the underpainting technique, but it did have a lot of shadow to it, and it was a really pretty one. And I didn't paint any pears for my cards last fall, but I'd like to do that one again. As we're moving along through the sketchbook, I got up to October, and I was starting to try out things for Christmas cards. I'll put the name on the screen for this video. I loved this one, and I enjoyed doing it all but the shadows. Or the glows. I didn't think I did a very good job with the glows with the Christmas lights, but I liked the rest of it. And I intended to use this for some of my Christmas cards. I did not. So I still might do it for next year. And this was some more, experimenting. I did a lot more Christmas things. This snowman, this was the second Christmas that I tried to paint this particular snowman from something I had flagged on Pinterest. I think it originated in an Etsy shop. I don't know who did it to begin with, but this was probably the best one I did. Usually when I put something in a sketchbook and I paint a bunch more of them, I'll do better versions as I go along. Unfortunately, my snowman got worse. The idea behind the snowman is you're supposed to put down a light wash and then add some shadows, light shadows to it. I just kept adding more and more Payne's Gray and blue, and my snowman looked like dirty Smurfs. They just did not come out good. So I had to give up on this cute little snowman, and I did paint a different snowman. I used the bokeh technique, and this was from one of Emma's videos. It's this one. And I did a bunch of cards with this snowman looking up into the sky, and this was again how things were supposed to go. This one came out sort of okay, but they got better as I painted more and more of them. And what I discovered with the bokeh technique, the idea behind that is you paint a color and then you're removing paint to create these light spots. There's a photography technique that you're emulating here. I found that actually Ranger ink, Distress ink, worked great for the background, but I used watercolors for the foreground for the snowman. So I did a bunch of cards like that, and I was really tickled with them. Now, one of the things Emma had last year was, for all of her YouTube subscribers, was an advent calendar. She painted something, there was something every day, and I didn't paint all of them, but I did this candle. This is something that very likely will show up on my Christmas cards this year because the candle is so versatile. You could make it any color. You could put holly in the greenery. You could put a bow. You could do all kinds of different things. Give it a background. You could do all kinds of different things. So, when you're doing a whole bunch of cards, it's nice to have a versatile item like that because one, you don't get bored, and two, you can use it with lots of different designer paper or different colors of cardstock and really make your supplies stretch along. I painted several other things for Christmas. I tried the penguin. I thought that was really fun and cute. The cat was fun, but the cat took a lot of time. I might paint one for my husband, but I don't think anybody else is going to get a cat. Last year, though, we had to say goodbye, sadly, to our 15-year-old kitty, so it wasn't the best year to do a cat on a Christmas card, but maybe another year we'll do that. The cardinal, I remember when I painted this, there was something about the face that didn't come out quite like it was supposed to, but now I can't remember what that was, and the rest of it I thought looked good. So I could see the cardinal as possibly one that I would do on Christmas cards in the future. Now it's after Christmas, and I'm painting daffodils in January. And the reason for this is I needed to make a card for somebody, and daffodils were significant for my relationship with this person. And I wanted to do a daffodil, and I had done a study of these from some old videos of Emma's back in April of 2023, and I couldn't find them because I didn't have sketchbooks then. So I just painted things on loose papers and they got lost, or I ended up using them for cards. So I went back and redid the study. These daffodils were painted, some with watercolor paint, some with pencils, some with watercolor crayons, and in different shapes and orientations. So it gave me something to go by as I painted my daffodil card, and then did some more with my spring cards. That was Reflections. It didn't come out so hot. This was a YouTube Live that had this kind of Hawaii kind of look. I don't know where it was supposed to be, but it looked like Hawaii to me, and that was a fun one to do. Then we're back to the letters of the alphabet. Narcissus, there we are with daffodils again. Orchids, peony, and Queen Anne's lace. Now the dogwood was just something, it was getting springtime, or getting closer to springtime, and I was looking for something to paint, and I found this picture on Pinterest, a photograph of a dogwood, and I just used that and then painted from it, and I was really pleased with how this one came out too. And this probably used some watercolor pencils, I can't remember for sure, but doing white is not the easiest thing, so I was really happy with those. I've got a very faint pink cast to them. I don't have any, that's one of the things odd that we have a lot of blooming stuff in our yard, a lot, but I don't have any dogwoods. I had a couple that didn't make it, and I have never tried again with dogwoods. So, so I'll just have to settle for them in my watercolor sketchbook. I did have some success with some light clouds on this background, and my plan here was to put something in the foreground, but I like the background so much, I never did put anything in the foreground. I didn't even date it. All these pages have where the inspiration, video, whatever came from, and the date of when I painted it, but this one didn't because I never got around to it. This was from a photograph on iStock Photo, and I just looked at the photograph and used my watercolor pencils to do a lot of this particular one, and a little bit of the white, the bleed-proof white ink on it as well. One of my favorite videos from Emma in the last few months were these plums. They were a lot of fun to paint. And then what I especially liked about this was the background. As you can see, most of the things I paint have just a white background. I don't try to do the background because I usually mess it up when I try to do the background. But this one was done with watercolor crayons, and you can control where your paint goes so much better with watercolor crayons. So I really liked that idea for if you want to fill in a colorful background. She used a different technique. For T is for tulips and U is for Eusenia, and it was a really fun technique. She was emulating another watercolor artist, but I really, really like doing those. Then we did violets and wisteria, and feathers was a separate video. These were fun, and I want to put some of those on a card. There was a small series in her videos on filling your sketchbook, and one of the ideas were these rolling hills. Now, I messed mine up down here at the bottom. These look more like reflections than rolling hills, but I was doing this one because I wanted to do some hills on a quilting piece. So this helped me understand a little bit better how to work with that shape. And so that's another thing with sketchbooks is you can use it for your other art and other crafts. Trying to get back into painting after about a month-long absence. I painted this lantana from my garden last year. And then I got back for the last 3 pages with X, Y, and Z. Xanthusma are these flowers. And I got these backwards, yarrow and zinnias. So that completes my second watercolor sketchbook, and I've already started my third. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what your favorite page was or favorite painting was in the sketchbook. Thanks again. Bye.